Hello, good morning students. Welcome to Pandas's virtual class on microeconomics, student of class 11. And today our topic of discussion will be causes of the shape of demand curve. That means why at all or what are the reasons that the demand curve flows downward from left to right. That means why it is that when price falls, people buy more, and when price rises, people buy less. So all these points are quite technical in nature. That's why try your best to understand clearly and if you are not able to understand, just message me to repeat it. Along with the region of shape of demand curve, also we will be discussing the exception of the law of demand. Exception of the law of demand means what are the situations and what are the conditions in which the law of demand doesn't hold good. That means the law of demand doesn't work. So first come to the reasons why demand curve slope downwards from left to right, or what are the reasons that the people buy more when price falls and buy less when price rises. The first reason is law of diminishing marginal utility. Because the law of diminishing marginal utility works, that's why the shape of a demand curve is shows a negative relationship. That means slopes downward from left to right. So how? Let us try to establish the reason and the result. The reason is the working of law of diminishing marginal utility. So students, already in the chapter of consumer equilibrium, we have discussed that when a person continues to consume one unit after another unit, he continues his consumption till the marginal utility of the goods that he is consuming becomes equal with its price. That means a consumer always tries to make equal the marginal utility of consumption and the price of the goods. So now you understand. Suppose when the consumer is consuming the fourth unit of the goods, his marginal utility and the price is equal. And now see how it is related to law of demand. That suppose the price falls, then what will happen? The marginal utility of the fourth unit of goods that was equal to its price previously, now the price will be less and the marginal utility of fourth unit will be more. That's why the consumer will be encouraged to consume more goods so that his marginal utility will fall and become equal with the reduced price or the new price. So that is the reason why when price falls, the consumer buys more, and when the price rises, the consumer buys less. The first reason being the operation of law of diminishing marginal utility, or DMU. The second reason is income effect. It is quite technical in term. It is quite technical. That's why try your best to understand the meaning of income effect. So students, you see, when the price of a goods fall, then what happens? Actually, the real income of the consumer rises. Just try to understand how. Suppose with his available income, suppose the consumer is spending 50 rupees to buy apple. The consumer is spending 50 rupees to buy apple. 1 kilo of apple that costs 50 rupees. Now the price of apple falls from 50 to 30. So what will happen? Previously the consumer was spending 50 rupees to buy 1 kilo of apple, and now he will be able to buy 1 kilo of apple with only 30 rupees. That means the difference of 50 and 30, that is 20 rupees, is the real increase in his real income. So, what the consumer will do with that extra 20 rupees? Obviously, he will spend it to buy more apple. That's the reason why the consumer buys more when price falls. That means, actually, when price of a good falls, the real income of the consumer increases, and when the price rises, the real income of the consumer falls. This effect is called income effect. Now, yet another technical term is substitution effect. Try to understand substitution effect. Substitutes or substitute goods, we have already discussed earlier that when two different goods gives same type of satisfaction, then both are called substitutes to each other, like tea and coffee. And also we have already discussed that when the price of a substitute rises or falls, it has a great effect on the demand of a particular goods. So now take the example of tea and coffee. So just try to understand what is substitution effect. Suppose the price of tea falls. The price of tea falls, and we are trying to understand when the price of tea falls, why the consumer buys more of it, or why the demand rises. Because see, earlier suppose 10 people were consuming tea, and 10 people were consuming coffee. And it is an instinct or a natural reflection of a consumer that he prefers to buy at a cheaper price. So, what will happen? When price of tea falls, then obviously some of the coffee consumer will shift it to tea, and the number of consumer that will be buying tea would increase, and as a result the demand of tea increase. That is the reason why the price of tea falls. When the price of tea falls, the demand of tea increases, because some of the people or consumer who were consuming the substitute of tea will come and start consuming tea, and the demand for tea would increase. This effect is called substitution effect. So the fourth point is increasing the number of consumers. So the same reason, when price falls, people who were earlier not able to or could not afford to buy a good, when its price falls, now they are also able to buy it, or they can afford to buy it. That's why when the price of a good falls, the number of consumer increases, and that is the reason why when price falls, the demand rises. And what happens when the price rises? When the price rises, some of the present consumer who were consuming that goods now cannot afford to consume it with its increased price. That's why they would shift, they would stop consumption. So the total demand of that goods will fall when price rises. This is the number of consumer. And the next point is several uses of a commodity. Although we know that resources or things are use specific, but still some things are there, some goods are there that can be put into different uses. For example, take the example of electricity. With the electricity, we can light our house. With the electricity, we can run an AC. With the electricity, we can cook food by using a heater. So, you see, when the price of electricity falls, why its demand rises? Because earlier the price was so high that people could afford only to light their house. And now because the price of electricity falls, what would happen? They would start putting it into other uses, other costlier uses. They would start cooking food with electricity. They would start running AC in their rooms. So due to to all these things, the demand of electricity would rise. So that is the reason why demand curve slopes downward. That means when the price of electricity falls, it would be put into several uses and its demand would rise. And on the other hand, when the price of electricity rises, people would stop or start reducing its uses and the demand would fall. So these are the reasons that gives the shape of the demand curve. These are the reasons why demand curve slopes downward from left to right. These are the reasons why demand rises when price falls and demand falls when price rises. So after regions, after going through the regions, now I think the time is almost over. The video has taken more than 13 seconds. That's why in our next class we will be discussing the exception of law of demand. So after discussing the regions of the shape of law of demand, the demand curve, if you are if you have any confusion or you are in doubt, please try to contact me, call me or message me to clarify your doubts. Thank you and have a nice day.